Hello class. In this video, we're going to move on to After Effects. So After Effects is a great program for visual effects. And a lot of animators also use it for animation. It's a great program for animation as well. So in this lesson, I'm going to give you an introduction to the program. And in the end, we're going to create this video. So if you took the fundamental class with me, you've seen this demo before. And this is exactly the same demo we used for introduction to After Effects in that class. Okay, so here from the link, you will be able to download the demo files. I have this preview video and I have the footages. So if you just double click on this file, demo01, and you're going to open all of the files. Okay, they're going to load all of the files. So I already pre-loaded the files. So we can start to create the comps. So here we have 6 files. Let's take a look. We have a background image, okay, and a video footage that has a black color background, and also the PNG image of 3 different clouds, and we have a PNG image of a robot. So we're going to put them together. Okay, so here's After Effects. And from this section, which is the project section, you'll see all of the images you have imported here. So as I said, when I created this template project, I already imported the files for you. However, if you want to import other files, there's a 2-way. First way, you can just go to the file and import file, and then you will be able to select the file. Okay, and second, you can just double click on here, empty space. You'll be able to select the file and you'll be able to import the files. Okay, and here's a preview window, and when you create a video or animation, you'll be able to preview it here. And as you can see, it got multiple tabs. When you open it, you may only have 1 tab, but sometimes it may show different tabs. By clicking on different tab, it will show different content. For example, here it will show a specific layer I will select, and here it will show the conversation, which is the preview of the video you have created. Okay, and the right side, you should be able to see panels such as effects or type tool like characters. Okay. And here's the info as a reference for the color or the audio level. And down below here, as you created a conversation, which means a project, here you will be able to see the layers. So the layers will be the same as the layers in Photoshop. However, the difference is here the layer has time, right? And in Photoshop, the layer is just a still image. All right. So first thing you have to decide is what is the dimension of the video. Okay, so you can create a conversation, which is like you can understand like a group or like a file in Photoshop. It can host multiple layers, right? So you can create a new conversation by go to the top menu, conversation, new conversation. However, for today, we're going to use this background image. Okay, we're going to use this background image to create a conversation because we want the conversation, which is the video, to have the same dimension as the video, as the image. See, as I selected, it shows the dimension as 1920 to 733. Okay, so if we just select this image, drag it, and drop it onto this icon, okay, it will create a new conversation for us. As you can see, here's the conversation. So that's the same way as you create a conversation for here. However, the difference is when you create a conversation with the image, you drop it onto this icon. You will create a conversation that has the same resolution as the image. Okay, and also inside of the conversation, as you can see, I've double click on it. It already opened it here. So inside of the conversation, the image is already imported. Okay, so right now, since I'm scale down my window very much, so you cannot see here this window because my window is super small. However, on your screen you should be able to see here's the timeline. You should see the time. For example, here's a 0 second, 1 second, 2 second, 3 second. It depends on how long your conversation is. Okay, so right now, as if I just close some of these windows, Okay, so you should be able to see this area better. So right now for my conversation, it has 10 seconds, right? And if on your window it is like 24F, 48F or something, you know, it shows F. F means a frame. Okay, so for example, if your video conversation has 30 frames per second, that means in each second you will have 30 frames. And for this ruler, as you can see, this ruler is for the timeline. I can just scale it down and then I can zoom in to the time. And now I can see the frame. So here's a 0 frame, here's a 5 frame, 10 frame, and comes here, it is 1 second. It should say, you know, 30 frame, which is 1 second, or just say 1s. However, I don't know why, you know, the rotate in this way. Sometimes it's a little bit confusing. However, here it means 1 second. Here's a 25 frames. As you can see, if I put my time here, it is 29 frame, right? And here is a 30 frame, and then plus basically is 1 second. Okay, so that is the timeline here, and here's the ruler that you can zoom in, zoom out your timeline, and here is the current time. So the window, the preview window, will show the current time. So if I place my this line at 2 seconds, and then here it will preview the video at 2 seconds, what's gonna happen? Okay, since now I didn't create anything in the video and it's just a still image, so no matter where I drop this timeline at, it will show the same content. And this window shows you where your current time is. Right now it's 4 seconds and 29 frames, right? And as I said, for this conversation, I have 10 seconds, and yours maybe 20 seconds or 5 seconds. It will be different. So that is totally depends on the preset of your conversation is. Okay, so if you don't want it to be 10 seconds, if you want it to be longer, and what you can do is just right click on this conversation and go to the conversation setting. Okay, and in the conversation setting window, you can change the name of it. And if you don't like the dimension, you know, for example, if you want it be higher, and you can just change this number, or if you want it to be wider and change this number. And if you don't want this frame rate 30, and you can change it to, for example, 24, which is the standard frame rate for movie. Okay, and here's the duration. So if you don't want it to be 10 seconds, and if I want it to be 20 seconds, I can just change it to 20. See, now it's longer, and I can just click on OK to confirm the change. So here's the 20 seconds, right? And since I created this conversation with 10 seconds, so the image is stopped at here. Okay, so I can just put my cursor at here at the end of this this line, this layer, and I can just extend the time to 20 seconds. So it will cover the whole thing. Okay, so that window, the conversation setting window, is similar to if you go to new conversation here. So this is the same thing you will see, right? So you can decide what dimensions you want the conversation to be. You can change here, and then you can change the frame rate, and then you can decide how long you want your conversation to be, and then put a number here and press OK. Right? So it'll be a new conversation. See, this is a new conversation I created. It has 20 seconds, it has 30 frames per second, and this is the dimension. And if I double click on that, I can open it here. And right now it don't have any content, and I can just drop a image in here. So these are the same way, you know, to create a new conversation. As I said, the only difference is, first way, you already have the image imported, and the conversation's dimension match with your image dimension. Okay, so I'll delay this conversation. So now let me explain you the frame rate. So here, as you can see, as I drop down, you have a lot of options. So 8 frames per second is commonly used for stop motion animation, 8 or 12. Okay, so 8, which is 1/3 of a standard frame rate, which is 24 frames per second, right? So it's 1/3 of it. So why the stop motion animation use these type of frame rates? So think about it. So for stop motion animation, each frame is a drawing. right? Or each frame is a photo of the puppet pose, different poses, and the animator have draw each frame or pose the puppet in different positions and take a photo for each frame. So that's a lot of work. So they only do 8 frames per second or 12 frames per second to minimize the works they have to do, in each second of the animation. And 24 is a standard frame rate for film, and 25 is a standard frame rate for television, for TV shows, and 29.97, 30 is a standard. Well, filmmaker used it a lot as well for film. However, it's more kind of used for game. Above 30 is more commonly used for game. So 30, 50, 60, and 120. So it has more frame rates. Alright, so that is the setting. So now we get our background imported, right? As you can see, you can zoom in, zoom out by using your mouse middle button. And if I double click on this specific layer, so now I jump it to the layer. So be really careful about that, because right now we are showing just the layer, right? So if I drop other content inside of this conversation, as you can see, I brought it inside of this conversation, and if I accidentally double click on one layer, it will show just the layer, and you'll see the robot disappeared. And sometimes it's confusing if you didn't aware you have accidentally clicked on the layer. Okay, so if this happens, just check the tabs, which tab is highlighting. So right now I'm highlighting the layer, so I'm checking the layer, right? So if I want to go back to the conversation, just click on here. So this is conversation, right? So I just showed you how to import other image in conversation. So you just drop the image in, very simple. Okay. However, for the second step, I don't want to import a character. I don't want to import it too early. So I want to import the cloud image. So let's drop in the cloud 1. Where is it? It's hard to see. Okay, here is it. So if I select it and move, right, select this layer and move, and I'll be able to see it. So I'm also using the move tool, so I'm able to move the layer. And when you bring it in here, make sure it is above the layer, above the background layer, not underneath the layer. So here the concept is the same as a Photoshop. If you place a layer underneath another layer, it'll be hidden, right? So make sure the cloud is above the background. So now let's talk about keyframes. If you click on this small arrow on the layer, and you'll see you'll get transform options, and click on here, you'll see all different types of keyframes. So this means keyframe. So you can keyframe position or scale or rotation for animation. Okay, so for example, at 0 second, I want the cloud to be placed on the right side of the screen. See, I'm panning left and right in the screen. I'm not moving the image, but I'm panning my view, so I can just hold down the space key and then use my mouse left key, and I'll be able to pan to the right side. So then I release my space key, and then I'll be able to select my cloud and place it on the right side of the screen. And then here I will add a keyframe for position. So click on this button, this is a clock button, so that will enable the keyframe. So now as you can see, when you click on that, it created the first keyframe in here, and also it opened the keyframe control panel here. Alright, so that means at 0 second, we created a keyframe, and we tell the video that at 0 second, place the cloud on the right side of the screen. And then let's place our timeline to 5 seconds, or maybe 10 seconds. Okay, roughly at about 10 seconds. And then move on to the left side. And then here I would like to place the cloud to the left. So there's a two-way for you to add a keyframe. First way, very simple. You can just drag the cloud, and as you change its position, see it automatically added a keyframe. Okay, and if I hit Command Z to go back, and the second way for me to add a keyframe is you can manually add it by clicking on here. Don't click on here. Okay, because when you first time click on that, it is telling the program that you are enable the keyframe function, but second time you click on that, you will disable the keyframe function and you will remove all the keyframes you have created on this channel. Okay, so Command Z to go back and click on here to add or remove a existing keyframe at the current time. So I click on that, I add a second keyframe, and with my time still on this keyframe, as you can see, while my time is on it, it'll show in blue color. That means my current time has a keyframe. And if I move it out and see it's not highlighted, so that means here it doesn't have a keyframe. So if you want to change anything on the keyframe, you need to make sure your timeline is on that keyframe. Okay, or you can just, click on this button to jump to the next keyframe, this button to jump to the previous keyframe. Okay, so while you are on this keyframe, and then I can move, this cloud to a different location, and hold down space key and use mouse left key to pan to the left side, and then release your space key, and then you will be able to place the cloud to the left. All right. So now, as you have two different keyframes, right, and each keyframe has a different position. Each keyframe recorded a different position. Okay, and then if I place my current time to 0 seconds, and I hit a space key to preview the animation, and then you should see that the cloud will move by itself. Okay, so basically the program automatically calculate the in-betweens. So these small dots, these are the in-between frames. So we only created two keyframes. First keyframe, we tell the program that the cloud should be on the right. Second keyframe, we tell the program it should be on the left. And then, the program added all of these in-betweens, for each frame. So each dot signifies each frame between these two keyframes. And that signifies the position of the cloud. Okay, so that's how the animation works. Okay, so I will let you to import other two clouds here and animate them, and it will be great that for the other two clouds you place them in different location and let them move in different speed or even different direction. So usually in the face-to-face class, I would give students about 5 minutes to complete this step. Alright, so I'll do it very fast. So I'll bring them in, open their position keyframes. So you can hit PK to just display the position, or you can do what I have done before. Okay, so I'll hit PK to only show the position, and at 0 second create a keyframe. 10 seconds, create another keyframe. Oh wait, before I do that, let's see, this is the second cloud. I would like to place it on the left, and then add a keyframe. And at 10 seconds, I will move it to the right. Here we go. So this one will move from left to right. Okay, that one will move right to left. Okay, and then the third cloud, this one, which is bigger, and I would like to move it from here maybe. So here I will brought you a question. What if I want this cloud to move faster? Okay, so as you know, speed is decided by time and distance. So in this same amount of time, which is 10 seconds, if I move it farther, I move it from here to, instead of to here, I move it to here. So it have 2 times distance than the other clouds. So definitely will move faster, right? Or, if I let it move, at the same distance, which is from left to right. However, I only give it 5 seconds to move. Definitely it will move faster, right? So see, if I just give it 5 seconds to move, this distance. Now if I play, see, it'll move faster than the white cloud. Okay, so that is the timing. Alright, let me move it out of the frame. Okay, so that is the first step. We'll bring in our clouds, and we'll talk. We have talked about the position keyframes. Use the keyframes to move the object. And the second step, we'll bring in our robot. However, for the robot, what I want to do is, let me preview the final animation. as you can see, when the robot came in, it ride on this energy ball. Okay, and as you can see, the energy ball is a different video, right? So there are two layers. So you can import both of them in here, okay, and reposition the energy ball onto his feet, and then key out the black color background, and then move them together. So create a keyframe on both of the two layers. However, it is not the best way, because you have to make sure for each keyframe, right, they need to be on the exactly same spot in order to let them to move in the same speed. Okay. However, sometimes it doesn't work very well. So the other way I would do is, instead of importing them into this background composition in separate layers, I would just create a new composition for them. The composition, as I said, it can understand as a group. So I create a group for them to contain these two layers, and then import this whole group into the background composition. So let's see how I can do that. So I'll just drag this robot image and create a composition, right, for that robot, and double click to open this robot. So this is the robot composition, which is the robot group, and you can bring this file video footage in here. Here's it. And if I hit space key to play, as you can see, the file is a video it plays, right? And now this robot group has two layers, and then I can go back to my background group. You can double click to open it, and then you can drag the robot group inside here. So now you are importing the two layers as a group, and you can move the whole thing together in one layer, right? And you can create a position keyframe here at 0 second and another keyframe at the 10 second. Alright, so now to go back to the robot group, you can just double click here or just switch to this tab. And as you can see, we may need a bigger space because there's no place for us to place this energy ball. So I can just right click here to go to composition setting, or double click on the empty space inside of this composition to, right click here. Right click here as well to open the composition setting. And here we can increase the width and height. So you can just put your cursor on the number and click on that and hold and drag to the right to increase. Click and hold and drag to the left, you'll decrease. Okay, just let you know. And I'll increase both the width and height, and then confirm the change. Alright, so now we have the robot in here, and we can move our robot to the left top corner and bring our fire, this energy ball, to the right corner. And we can go to this rotation. So you can go to this arrow and find it here. Or you can just select this layer and hit R for rotation. So it will open the rotation channel for you and hide other channels. So R is for rotation. If you hit it twice, and then you will fold it. Okay, and P for position, R for rotation, and S for scale. Okay, so those are the shortcuts. So for rotation, I would not actually create a keyframe. I would think I hided some of the numbers. Okay, here's it. So if you put a cursor here, you'll be able to change the degree, how many degrees you want to rotate. And here's how many circles. Each circle is a 360 degree. So that's why if you put, for example, if I put 1, nothing changes, because I added 160 degree. So that's still the same spot, right? So here I'll just keep at 0, and here I'll rotate it in about 140 degree. And right now it's a little bit too big, and then I can hit S key to go to scale and scale it down, and then bring it up. So that will be a good size. And another question is, okay, so if I switch back to background composition, as you can see, it automatically updated here. So that's the beauty of composition. So when you change it here, it'll update it here. So another question is, how can I get rid of the black color background? Okay, so we can switch back to the robot composition. So there's something we can apply. It's called keying, Keying. So if you right click on this layer and go to down below effects, it is out of frame. All right. Let me see if I can show you in this way. Effect. Oops, it's still out of frame. So if you right click, okay, keying, effect and keying, and you should see color range. Okay, so this is the effect you're going to look for. Or another place you can look for is you can just go to Window and check on effects. And in the effects window here, you can just search for color range. Here is it, right? It is under keying folder. Or you can just go down below here, go to color correction. Excuse me, go to keying folder, and then you will find it. And then just drop it onto the layer. Here is it. So I applied it twice. So I'll select and delete one of them. Alright, so for color range window, you will pick up a color, the color that you don't want. Okay, so click on this button to pick up the black color, and as you can see, when you apply it, it disappears immediately. Okay, and then you can increase the fuzziness, so you'll be able to get a cleaner result. However, don't go too much on this number. Okay, and here you can increase the min level and decrease the maximum. Actually, keep the maximum as 0. However, increase the min level is fine. And then you can play with the min, max, the AUG, these numbers. And in some cases, it will have effects. However, for this simple footage, only key out for the min level is fine. Alright, so I will increase it about like 120. So here we have I'm satisfied with this result. Here now we have get rid of the black color background. So this is final result. As you can see, if I play, this is our energy ball. Okay, so now in your background composition, you can select this whole robot composition and go to scale. And if I open this tab, okay, here's it. So I can scale it down, right? And if I want it to face into that direction, I can also flip it. So go right click and go to transform and flip horizontal. It is the same as the flip horizontal in Photoshop. So you'll be able to flip it, right? And then you can place it out of the frame at 0 second. And here I don't want it appear at 0 second. I want it to appear at about 1 second. Okay, so place my timeline at 1 second and go to the position keyframe. So I just hit PK to open it. P for 1 second, place it at the left side of the screen, and 8 seconds I would like to place it on the right side. Here's it. So now if I hit space key to play, and you should be able to see that here. It's out of the frame. So if I scale down a little bit, so now you should see that the robot will fly across the screen. Right? It is previewing, so it is a little bit faster than the actual result. See, now it is moving at the same speed as the cloud, which doesn't look good. It should be the second cloud. So what I can do is I can go to the position keyframe for the second cloud. Right? Click on this button to go to the second keyframe. And instead of move that far, I'll just move it in this distance, so it'll move very slow. So now you'll see the difference. Right? So now the character will stand out. Okay, so that's how to create a basic animation. So to add in-betweens for the keyframes. And when you've done this, to export your animation, what you'll do is go to top menu, File, and Export, and Add to Render Queue. Okay, so it will add your current conversation for export. So here, there's a few settings you'll have to choose. First, for output module, for the previous version of After Effects, previous versions, you'll be able to choose H264, which is compressed video format. Okay, it can compress your video very good with a small file size, but still keep the resolution. However, for the newer version of After Effects, it don't have the codec embedded in. So I just keep it as a default lossless. However, it will be super big. The file will be super big. For output 2, just click on here and you can save it to a location and click on render. As I said, with this setting, this is what After Effects can do. However, the video will be really big, is uncompressed file. So usually people would use another program called Adobe. Let me just open it. It's out of the frame. So it is called Adobe Media Encoder. Here's it. Okay, they will open this one, and then they would say instead of send it to render queue, they would go to a file and export, add to Adobe Media Encoder to render it. So that's another story. All right, so we'll talk about that in the future lessons. However, as I said, for this lesson, for demonstration of this demo, since our project only have 10 seconds, so it is okay. So you can just add to render queue and export with this setting. So it'll open a video, it'll export a video. All right, so that's the introduction to After Effects and the basics of animation.